This is Oft Off Topic, a show where two men with the attention spans of a squirrel try and fail to stay on topic with today's subject. Where will their oral meanderings take us? Well, stick around and listen, because today's Oft Off Topic is news stories that have happened recently. As usual, we at the end of the month or / begin of the month, we try to bring you the news stories that we found interesting. And today, we have a few of them for you. Nate, do you want to start?
Well, I bet it's like yes and no, because from the beginning, I was just kind of say, scratch that, take two. I do want to start, however, I don't actually have any news stories as of yet. Been crazy busy. I wanted to kind of talk about like when I was looking through articles. I want to be as fair as possible, because I realize certain news agencies have certain slants, but I'll be damned if I were using Fox News, some play, because that's just. Look,
so you got to be careful with Fox News too, because there's a difference between Fox News and like local Fox affiliates too. So you might want to put like a Fox 23, and usually those stations are slightly less polarizing, slightly.
True, very true. But there are still like leanings, because I was watching a John Oliver a while back, and a lot of those news across the country, a lot of the news stations are actually owned by the same conservative like media, and so they released this this thing they wanted all the news reporters to read. They talk about like, we are really concerned about this thing happening in our country, and it was verbatim across the nation. They kept on taking glibs, like, and it's one thing to say, hey, we have this we want to say, but they were trying to pass it off as my personal belief in this situation. This is where I stand, but it was just across the nation. All the news stations were saying the same thing. All of them playing it off as if it was their words they were saying, not their corporate.
They're basically reading somebody else's opinion article.
Yeah, it's
like,
I don't know.
This is close enough to my opinion. I might as well just read it verbatim.
And they were told it was clear they were told to read it verbatim because there was no deviation. I would have a lot more respect. They're like, hey, here's the general vibe we want to go with. Go out there and you need to pitch this, but pitch it your own way. They didn't do that, and they're like,
I know what you're talking about too, because I've seen it not only where they read it verbatim, but they even have like the same inflection in their voice in certain areas. I mean, it is like, it's literally the same person just reading it with the same exact like, okay, make sure you put influence on the word there. Unlike you, I have no problems with those finding articles, so I have some news stories if you'd like me to start.
Go ahead.
All right. First of all, this doesn't have much to do with any of your interest, but it's kind of interesting in my own way. Remember how the NFL has been doing that fun thing where it's like, hey, if you want to watch games, you got to have, local TV. You also got to have Amazon Prime or even the Paramount Network. And they just kept like adding on streaming options and, different ways you have to watch it by paying and this and that. Basically, it's no longer just, you can throw on channel 13 and watch your football. You also have to have the NFL Network. You have to have all these different things. Well, they got sued by the government saying, that's actually not really that cool to be doing that to people anymore. So not only did they get zinged with $4.7 billion in damages that they got to pay out, but also this might come into the era, usher forth the era where you can literally just pay to watch just your team. Like if I wanted to watch the Seahawks, I could literally just pay like $5 a month to get just Seahawks games, which that would be kind of a neat thing to do. Because as it is now, I believe people figured out that if you want to watch every NFL game through all the streaming things, you're paying something like $300 a season to watch it all.
Ridiculous. I mean, I get the reason why obviously money, but
it's all money. That's all the NFL wants is money.
They realize, look, they're not gonna, not as many people are gonna pay for, I don't know, the Michigan Pixies. I'm sure they don't exist.
It works for me.
Versus like fucking the Seattle Seahawks.
Yes.
There's no question, and so obviously, on one hand, that means the Seahawks are gonna get a lot better coverage than the Pixies. They're like. But at the same time, it's like they probably weren't going to do it anyway. Even if they were paying the $300 for all of it, because they weren't breaking that. They weren't breaking that money equally. Where it's okay, everyone from the Seahawks to the Cowboys to the Pixies to the Gnomes, they're all getting their own. We're going to dedicate just as much money to reporting each one of these teams.
With team names like that, you made your own fantasy league.
Exactly.
Boom.
Pixies and Gnomes versus Cowboys and Seahawks.
And also with all this money, the people that actually really hurt, man, boohoo, the bar owners, but bars, they want to show every game possible. And if they got to start paying out the ass for subscription fees, kind of sucks for them for the local bar that, can't really afford the extra 300 bucks or a couple $100 a month to watch all the games.
No, fair, but they could also
Yeah.
just, pick and choose.
This,
Yeah, hey, you're a bar. You could make it a theme. Hey, this bar, we support this team. If you want to watch, this team's inner goings on, then come here. So
that's cutting off a good portion of your clientele,
yeah,
though.
fair.
I
No,
mean, I actually
yeah,
could make it like a
you are
thing, but
definitely
yeah.
well. Then don't be a sports bar.
That'd be no, I'm not even
Or
talking sports bars, just any bar. I mean,
that's
what are you
true.
gonna have on the TV? If there's an NFL game on, do you really want something else on the TV?
I guess I never really
Everybody
considered
literally is
they
gonna come up
actually.
to the bar and be like, "Why is the NFL game not on?" Well, we can't afford it, sir. And then they're just gonna be like, "F you, bye. We're going over to Ted's across the street."
I guess I've never really considered because I don't care. So I've never really paid attention to the sports. When it's on, my eye naturally goes to TV. So I've watched sports I don't give a shit about because
Yeah,
it was
it's
on.
just there.
I was in the Mexican restaurant. I was eating chips, and I saw Argentina versus Germany on a soccer game. I don't care about either team. I'm not a huge fan of soccer. Although I will say, I'm about to say I'm not a huge fan of soccer, but on the hierarchy of sports, I don't give a shit about. I actually care more about soccer than others. But just because I
First,
think
it started over soccer's wars and riots.
but oh yeah, absolutely. That's not even a joke. Totally.
Oh,
but
did you see what happened at that soccer game down in Florida?
no.
The world champion. It was Argentina and I don't know, let's just say Brazil. But I guess so. It's pretty common in those things for people to like break in and sneak in to try to watch games for free. Well, this time I guess apparently a lot of the fans like literally got blueprints to Miami Dolphins Stadium, and people were breaking. You can look up photos of it. People were like literally crawling into ventilation ducts and like spooning through the ventilation ducts and popping out various places in the stadium. Because I guess they literally had like little blueprints of where all those ducts went. And we're like, hey, man, if we just scoot down this duct 30 feet and hang a right, we can pop out by the locker rooms. Yeah, there's just footage of just people just in mass, like dozens of them just pouring into various holes in the stadium.
That's
It's an impressive sight.
they're in the vents.
Yeah, and you can see like the five security guards chase around and be like, what do we do? There's so many of them. And they're just kind of like,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
at one point, you just gotta sit back and go, all right, whatever.
yeah,
Y'all
yeah.
do. If this is happening, we can't stop this. We're not
Yep.
paid enough to stop this.
Me and my taser and my billy club are going to get immediately overwhelmed and killed.
Yeah, I'm standing at this door. I was paid to stand at this door. If they get around me, then they win.
Yeah,
So
yeah. This is Florida. I'm probably making $13 an hour to do this.
yeah,
It's not worth me getting crippled.
yeah. According to my contract, I was supposed to watch the store. I have continued to watch the store. I successfully watched the store.
Right.
No one has,
Yeah.
no one has gotten past me. So
Right. Yeah. This one door has been blocked. What about all those
yes,
other doors around you? You did not tell me to watch those
no,
doors.
that's not that was not on my contract.
Yep.
The ventilations was definitely not my contract.
Nah. Nope. You got to call the HVAC union for that. They're the only ones able to do that. I'm not allowed to go up a ladder, you see.
I'm forbidden in my contract.
Anyways, moving away from sports, I got another kind of an interesting story. So apparently, Deadpool and Wolverine is set to top Passion of the Christ as the highest grossing R movie ever in the United States.
Good.
That means Deadpool is more popular than Jesus.
Marvel Jesus beat the regular Jesus.
Yes, he did. And that's brilliant.
It really is. Yeah, there. Speaking of the Marvel Jesus bullshit, I saw some TikToks. These people all mad. They're like, "We left after a few minutes." Blah blah blah. It's Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
It's rated R and it's Deadpool. What have you not seen?
Are these
The other
literally like
ones?
people who's like, I read Little Lotta comics back in the day, and this is nothing like Little Lotta or Richie Rich comics.
Right.
I shouldn't have taken my 2-year-old to this.
Well, people even have said specifically the Marvel Jesus comment. I'm like, that was in the trailers. So
Was there a Marvel Jesus comment? I didn't even know that actually.
Oh,
to be
you haven't.
honest.
Then you obviously haven't watched so much of the trailers, but
No,
yeah,
actually, I kind of just avoid it all because I'm like, I'm gonna watch the movie regardless. I don't need to see it.
okay.
I'm
Well,
not, yeah.
there's a comment basically saying like, hey, and this isn't actually true, but like he gets the idea that he has been chosen to save like the Marvel franchise, and so he's like, I am Marvel Jesus, and the guy's like, no, but he rolls with it, and he continues going through the movie believing he's Marvel Jesus, and people are like getting offended by that. I'm like, it was in the trailer.
Yeah,
That scene was in the trailer. That was a part that was like a full on Star Trek cutting to commercials, full stop on face comment. He's like, I am Marvel. He looks dead in dead at the camera and the audience. He goes, I am Marvel Jesus. He said that in the trailer. That move past it. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Be awesome if he took off his mask for one scene there and just looked just like Jesus.
that would be funny.
Uh,
Uh, and I mean, it's actually kind of funny too. Like, yeah, I just recently was hired at the post office, and I went through a little post office academy. And the guy who was one of the trainers there, he's like, he talked about how he's a big geek and how he likes Star Wars and Marvel. And he was like, I'm gonna go see the Deadpool movie. I'm like, cool. He's actually out in the middle of nowhere. Like he's normally stationed, like just it kind of like from what he described is very similar to like around your area. Um, just a whole lot of very rural.
yeah, my
And
route covers 12 houses over 60
yeah,
miles of turf.
kind of, yeah. And so
Yeah.
but he was like, he came in the next day. He's like, I saw Deadpool. What'd you guys think? I'm like, oh, I loved it. It was a perfect movie. No, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. He's like, it's a little too crude for me. I'm like, well, then you. He's like, yeah.
Then you obviously don't watch too much Deadpool. Or
He
know
goes,
much
if
of
I brought my
Deadpool.
wife with me, I've been really embarrassed. I'm like, well, I guess it's a good thing you bring your wife, but also just come on, man, lighten up. Because I mean, they were definitely crude. Like it is not for the faint of heart when if you're don't like crude or cussing or violence and
Would you say it was cruder than the first two?
yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Oh yeah, by far.
Oh, was it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So they decided to try to top it. Okay.
I mean,
So
but
I guess if you weren't
again,
expecting it, if you
it
thought like
was.
Deadpool 2 was the top of the crudeness charts, then
Oh
yeah.
yeah, no, 100%. They went for it, and was actually it was fine. It didn't feel out of place. It didn't feel like it was too far. I mean, they pushed the boundaries as far as they could, and it's still the way I was thinking about it was if you're trying to go into this movie thinking about how this is going to be a serious movie, even like a serious movie with some comedy that's going to bring it all together. Don't do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was a profanity filled love note, or like not even a love note, like a lust note for Marvel properties across the board. And that's basically what it was.
But
Like
you're gonna get it.
the cameos, there are a lot of cameos. All of them felt like they belonged. It did no cameo there really felt like, oh, why'd they do that?
Mhm.
Every they all felt nice. It didn't feel cheap. If you were wanting to feel cheap, then you can feel that way. That's fine. But it seriously, like all the cameos they brought out didn't feel like quick cash grabs. They were, but it didn't feel that way.
It
And yeah, they weren't on there very long. Most of the cameos were like barely a couple minutes long,
it was
and they
like what they do those dumb cameos where it's like, oh, hey, that's so and so from Alpha Flight. Let's discuss his origin story for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and derail the entire story.
yep, there was none of that.
Hey, look,
Actually, it was
there's
kind of funny
Puck. Puck
because
is a small Canadian from blah blah blah. And you're like, oh, shut up.
yeah. I mean, well, one thing about it was I appreciate was they're like you either get it or you don't. That was a lot of the cameos or a lot of the kind of throwaway gags. They put this in there, and if you didn't get it, well, then this wasn't for you.
Yeah,
That's
that's on you, not on us. This cameo
yeah.
is perfect.
So I mean, I really wish you had seen it because I would love to go over certain cameos, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fine.
I'll probably see you in the next couple of days, maybe. Who
That's
knows?
good. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the nicer cameos was also there are a bunch of cameos of so he goes looking for this is a big spoiler. They part of the trailers as well. He goes to look for a Wolverine, and so he goes through basically a lot of comic book versions of Wolverine that you'll be very familiar with, and you just got a chance to see a live action version of him. And it was just and I'm
A lot of
sorry,
multiverse popping, I'm guessing.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna
Okay.
just touch on. I'm gonna spoil one. You'll live with it. It's like literally. It's 20 seconds of the movie. It's not. At one point, he visits. So I mentioned before in this podcast one of the big comic book runs that brought me back to comic book was the Age of Apocalypse. I loved Age of Apocalypse. I'd fallen out of comic books in the '90s. I rediscovered it through the X-Men series, Age of Apocalypse. In that series, there was a Wolverine, and he looked pretty cool in the comics. When you see him in real life, or quote unquote real life, but when you see him in live action, I think he was probably the gayest looking one of all the time. I mean, just he popped in, and the way maybe it was just the
Big
way
picture
Hugh
is leather
Jackson.
daddy Wolverine.
Yeah, the
Oh,
way
is it
Hugh
the one with the eye
Jackman.
patch?
No, that's not that one. That's Patch.
Okay. Pat, yeah.
Age of Apocalypse. He's like full black, like skin tight black leather, no sleeves, with a big kind of red V on his chest. His hair is insane. Like it is way more everywhere than the others. I mean, it looks like he's wearing fucking Cinderella 80s music band Cinderella wig, black
Ha.
wig. and he's leaning up against the wall. But the way he's leaning up against the wall, he's very straight backed. He's got like with his leg, just it. It looked like he was make this that he they threw him from Abercrombie and Finch like cover, and then he proceeded to like beat the shit out of Wade. But again, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was hilarious. It was really nice to see that version of him on there because I had like a just a nostalgia boner for that version of Wolverine. But man, that I'm glad they didn't roll with that in the movie because he looks super stupid in live
Oh,
action. It did not work.
if you remember or not, but did Wolverine have sleeves throughout most of the movie on his yellow outfit?
No, didn't.
Because here's the thing. I learned this on one of my special effects YouTube channels. Apparently, the early previews, Wolverine has yellow sleeves in that, but I guess the fan feedback was backlash on it was pretty substantial. So they actually went in and CGI'd the sleeves off of him and like put CGI arms in a lot of scenes. They did a really good job of it, so you really can't tell. But I guess yeah, if you see a sleeveless Wolverine, odds are they did that in post production.
Oh yeah, sure enough, I do see sleeves on him. I didn't know he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
sleeveless.
I guess in the yeah, but if you go to the very first trailers that popped out, he's got sleeves in the all of those. And then the fans were like, "We don't like the sleeves," so they're like, "Hey, we'll take him out."
Yeah, I've seen some still shots of him with sleeves, and he does not have sleeves. Did he? Now that I didn't really even notice, did he have sleeves like in the early? Oh, okay, he was okay. He did have them in the original, like when he went and grabbed him, and he had the sleeves on, and when he first shows the yellow suit, he had sleeves, but I guess he lost them in like during the movie. Yeah, I didn't even pay. I need to
Lost
go back.
them. They
Yeah,
they just
I need to
fell
go
off at
back.
one point. They were vestigial sleeves. Once
I really
Wolverine
do. I do
matures,
need to
they
go
just
back.
fall off of them. That's gonna be bugging you the rest of the day. You're gonna be like, "Fucking
It
sleeves."
is like, did he
The
have
sleeves.
sleeves? Because
Did my God? Because your brain is
I
telling
re-
you one thing, and the pictures are telling you something else. And you're just like, "I know."
I remember him having sleeves, like or not having sleeves. But now that I'm looking at these pictures, I'm like, wait, did he have sleeves? I don't know.
But
But most,
no.
how about this? Most of the movie, he did not have sleeves. If he had
Okay.
sleeves earlier in the movie, then but I don't remember having sleeves. But yeah, I'm seeing these images that are making me question it.
Just so
Because
you
I'm
know,
like,
if you saw him without sleeves, those were not Hugh Jackman's real arms.
oh, there you go.
Yep. For what that works. I mean, yeah. Anyway, just fun. Also, the main thing is other than a few areas where you can really looking, you can tell they did a really good job of like, blending in the fake arms.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. Also, like
I'll look up the corridor
his
crew thing where they
mask
talked about it.
his mask looks good sometimes and not so good other times. And there was a couple times in the movie where he it looked good. And again, I'm reiterating, I love this movie. But there was several times during some of the fight scenes, and especially with Logan. I mean, I was like, okay, am I watching a budget movie or am I watching a cutscene on a PS4 game? It's just there were a couple times where
I know what you're talking about, where it really takes you out, and all of a sudden you're just like, wait a minute, what happened? It's like the budget gets cut in
yeah,
half, or you transport back to like the early 2000s for like 2 seconds with that quality of CGI, and you're like, huh?
yeah, it was a couple times it was a bummer where it's like, oh man, it just doesn't look as good. But still it for what the movie was, it was really good. And I liked this version of Wolverine because this Wolverine isn't like, the one that we got to know and love through all the X-Men movies. They established in the first few seconds he is truly dead. He is gone. Like that Wolverine does not exist. So the Wolverine they do get, they really they establish is like, okay, this Wolverine is like they say in the trailers, he's the worst Wolverine. He's a piece of shit. So a lot of the stuff that Deadpool kind of gets away with, Wolverine's like, yeah, but at the same time he lets it happen. Because he just sits back for one particular character I'm not gonna mention. For one particular character, actually a couple particular characters, Deadpool, while isn't the killer, straight up gets a couple of characters brutally murdered, and it's entirely Deadpool's fault. Even though Deadpool wasn't the one who killed him, he absolutely is at fault. And Wolverine just kind of stands by, lets it happen, then kind of comments later, that was shitty.
And then
So
Deadpool looks at the camera and does the Home Alone face. I'm like, oh, end scene. I don't know. That's how
right.
I picture going.
Well, it wasn't for cussing at least, because this Wolverine's cussing from the jump. So like, yeah, it's just kind of nice. They're both foul mouth pieces of shit at times, and the second time or not the when it happens near the end when this particular character Wolverine or sorry Deadpool makes choices that directly lead to this character's brutal demise. It is actually really it's funny, obviously, and then when you find out why he did that, it really just kind of it's a nice bow tie to an earlier,
Huh. It's
like
just
they
nice
made
cherry on top.
it's not like Chekhov's gun, where it's like they bring it up early in the movie and they heavily imply during that initial thing, like, um, I think we all know where this is going. And then the rest of the movie goes on and you forget about it. It just kind of slips your mind, and then when it comes up again, you're like, oh, right. He did heavily imply that he was going to do that.
And then I just
So,
picture you in the theaters, like adjusting your monocle and be like, oh, very clever indeed. Oh,
no.
yes, very good.
So I'll enjoy the movie better the second time whenever I watch it, either be at home or go to the movie theater. I doubt I'll go to the theater again, but when it does come home, because I really did enjoy it. But it is that initial, like, you're in the movie theater, it's all happening, you're seeing it for the first time, you just kind of miss things. So I'm looking forward to just watching it again.
Yeah. And movies like that usually have just a lot of stuff crammed in that you're going to miss.
Yeah, and I do. It is a bummer that some of the things were like surprises. Like Ryan Reynolds was initially not going to show Wolverine's yellow suit until just before. Like I think his dream was to hold off on the yellow suit until the movie actually came out. But people were taking pictures from production. And kind of like he
Yeah,
had to give
stuff
away the
leaked
suit
out like
early.
instantly.
Yeah, and nowadays keeping things under wraps for even some of the cameos. Like I was pleasantly surprised that I had avoided the spoilers because there were a few people who showed up. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe this person's there. So
What a surprise. As you again adjust your monocle, go, oh, very good,
yeah,
very good. Yes, yes, yes.
yeah. And unfortunately, at this point though, like I'm glad I'd seen it because at this point, I mean, it sounds like you've mostly avoided it, but if you're paying attention at all, most of the cameos should be spoiled to you by now. If
Yeah.
you're avoiding it, then good on you.
Yeah, I literally know nothing about the movie other than what you told me today.
Awesome. Well, then hurry up and go because I'm dying to talk about stuff.
Yeah, I can tell because you talked about it for the last like 10 minutes.
I know. See, right?
Ah, we'll put in a spoiler warning before this.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Want
mean,
to,
and I didn't spoil much, but I did mention a
yeah,
couple scenes. So yeah, go ahead to put spoiler.
yeah, and I'll just be like, hey, just fast forward, I don't know, till point time. But I'm glad to hear it's a good movie because, man,
Yeah.
The Uprising would have been awful if it was a bad
Oh
movie.
man, it'd been real bad. But yeah, it is not a perfect movie. It is very enjoyable. It doesn't look like, at least for now, it looks like this may be the last Deadpool movie, which would be fine. Honestly, if they end on this one, they absolutely left it open for like future Wolverine Deadpool adventures. I doubt they're gonna do that, because I love Hugh Jackman. He's amazing. He's one of those rare creatures. He actually looks better now than he did the first time he played Wolverine. Like I don't know how he did that, but he did. So
Looks a little more grizzled in his old age.
looks more grizzled and just more cut. Like dude, like when you first see, actually have a picture of him in his first showing of Wolverine right now. His hair isn't quite right. It looks, it's close. Yeah, it's close. When it came out, it was close enough, but it wasn't the Wolverine hair we know. Did he have muscles? Yeah, sure, he had muscles, but he's still like, he didn't do that thing where you see all the muscles like bulging out of there and with all the veins and stuff. He just looked kind of normal. Like, yeah, he's a regular dude with muscles. But as he's gotten along, particularly when the Wolverine movie came out, and then he really started like beefing up. Time
A
out.
fun special.
What's up? I'm doing my podcasty. Faster, faster. Wait.
Bye, Dad.
Anyway, main point is he looks better now than he did then, and even still, dude's like old now. And hey, how old is he?
Question. Another fun special effects thing. One of the very early pictures of Hugh Jackman doing Wolverine, it was kind of like he had a undershirt on and his claws out, and he's kind of like flexing his muscles, and he was just totally jacked.
Yeah.
The way they actually accomplished that is in the original photo to get his muscles to bulge that way. They actually have him holding giant concrete bags, and they had him hold it there until his muscles started to pop. Then they took the picture and they edited out the concrete bags. That's why his muscles look like they're under so much strain because he's actually holding like sacks of concrete at the time.
Which picture?
It was. I'll see if I can dig it up. It's like one of the very first Wolverine photos. Hold on.
Okay, like from the first X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like some of the later ones. I'm like, I don't know, that's pretty fucking jacked. He's 55 years old now. So again, he's not super old, but probably should go ahead and hand the reins off to somebody else to play Wolverine.
He's over halfway to being legally dead, from what I hear. Did you ever hear that?
Oh
According
yeah,
to some
well,
people, like if you reach 100, you're legally dead.
that's
Which
true.
I don't.
That is
Is
true.
it?
I actually, yeah, I took for a brief second, I actually considered going to insurance, and I'm really glad I didn't. But I actually went to like a class, and according to interest, not legally, like they're not, it's not like the courts go, okay, you're gone now. No, but per health insurance, they need to put a number. It is for all their algorithm stuff. They need a number when someone would be dead, and so as default, insurance lists 100-year old as dead. So if you're 100 years old, you can actually cash in your life insurance policy as if you died. So
It's only that is a 2004 and previous thing. Apparently, they've changed it since 2004.
oh really? There you go.
Yep. There you go. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I guess just due to the fact that there's so many people turning 100 recently, which actually kind of leads us into our next story, if you would like. Uh, a senior citizen home in Italy has been doing this thing where they like bring in 100-year-olds, just as like a giant meeting kind of thing. Well, apparently they recently set the record with having 70 100-year-old people under the same roof. That's a lot of. Remember back when we were kids and it was like a huge deal that somebody reached 100 years old? And nowadays it feels like there's just 100-year-olds everywhere. But yeah, an Italian retirement home chain's annual gathering of centenarians broke a Guinness World Record when 70 people who are at least 100 years old attended this year's event. So apparently it's a retirement home chain, and I guess they just take all their oldest people and just wheel them under one roof for a day.
And then they kill them
Which
all.
could actually be seen as old people abuse, depending on how into it the old people are.
Very true.
Because yeah, I'm like looking at the picture now, and it's a lot of people in wheelchairs who kind of just look like they were probably wheeled into a room and just like sit here for a photo opportunity. In fact, I can actually
I said,
send
"Stay
you a
here."
link if you'd like.
Oh, going back one, I just sent you a picture of Hugh Jackman as a Hugh Jackman as young and then now.
Text or on Discord.
Oh, there it is. I had to actually type
There it
something.
is. It showed up. Yeah, that's what Trin will do for you, to be honest. Now the
Trend?
Trins, yeah, it's basically oral steroids. You don't have to inject yourself anymore, and they're pretty common. You want to know
Hmm.
what the sad fact is? Pretty much all the Marvel stars are on steroids. That's why they
Oh,
look
I'm
as good as they
sure.
do.
I mean, you can't look. I mean, I guess you can. Like, oh, but we have
It's a lifetime
trainers,
of weightlifting, not hey, I got in shape 1 year before my movie scoot shooting kind of thing.
right?
Yeah, I actually watched a nutritionist guy that I watch on YouTube. He kind of broke down evidence on why they're all on steroids, and every Marvel actor, when they get asked in interviews, like, "How'd you get in such great shape?" Every one of them says the exact same thing. Oh, it's boiled chicken breast, brown rice, and broccoli. That's all you eat around the clock. That's it. But apparently, if you like punch that into a nutrition calculator, you'll wind up anemic if you just eat just that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you won't
Well,
build any muscles.
I know
But
Henry Cavill, but then again, he's I believe him more because he's always jacked. So I think he actually does work out. But he was talking about whenever on The Witcher, like he was going to do a shirtless scene, they actually made him not drink water for like a week. He could only take small sips. So he was
yep,
he was starving for water to make the skin thin, so the muscles bulge out more.
that is exactly how all bodybuilders do it. The day, like 3 days or a few days before they go in for their bodybuilding shoots, they literally stop drinking water, they stop eating, and they basically dehydrate and starve themselves to the point, almost to the point of kidney failure. Sometimes they will actually have renal failure because they dehydrate themselves so much.
Oh,
And I guess on the days of their shooting, they look their best, but they feel awful. And it could take them like a week of like basically feeling like crap before they even feel normal again. Just because they literally bring themselves to the brink of starvation, their kidneys shutting down, just to, like you said, to get that skin tied around your muscles and look good.
there was a
And
time like when I was in the 20s, I was like wanting to get all jacked, and I actually thought, oh, I'm gonna go. We went to what GMC or whatever, and we were gonna get those pills like to make our muscles. And the guy's like, don't do that because it did exactly that. It just dehydrates you. It doesn't help your muscles at all. And if you get a glass of water, like you kind of spoil the effects from the almost immediately. So I'm like, oh well, okay, I guess I'll do that.
here's another story I learned. So, back in the 80s, there was a bodybuilder named Dorian Yates. I guess if you just look up pictures of him, it's impressive. But I guess he got down to like one of the lowest body fat percentages ever of like 2%. And he had such little body fat that it was basically just organ fat. And also, he had no subcutaneous fat, the fat right underneath your skin. So his skin literally sat straight on top of muscles, and his skin had the texture and feel of sandpaper because there wasn't like any of that padding underneath it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he had so little fat that he had no fat on the bottom of his feet, so he's basically walking straight on bone. And apparently, when he was doing his like bodybuilding stuff, he was in constant pain because he's just basically walking on feet bones. So there you go. If you lose enough weight, it hurts to walk around.
Yeah, clearly.
And also, he's got one of those physiques. You're like, well, that's impressive. I don't know if I'd want that physique myself.
Impressive. Most impressive.
Yes. Yeah. Again, it was a dude doing steroids. So
Speaking of dudes and, not really steroids, but like you hear about the, so, okay, let me go back a little bit. So I was in my class for the, for the whole post office thing, like, hey, here, do this. And so, I heard the thing go, doo. I was like, oh no, we got cut off. So we were talking about what do you not talk about in, at work? And one thing you don't talk about is religion. Another thing you don't talk about is politics. And the third thing you don't talk about is sports, because people around here can get really shitty about the sports. Christ, that dude.
oh, the Dorian Yates picture.
Yeah, that. There we go.
Actually, there's even bigger pictures of him being even like slimmer. It's very unnatural looking, to be honest.
Like, dude, what are you doing?
Letting it.
Some fat is necessary. It's like talking to my daughter, or like the oldest. She's all concerned about her weight. She's like, I want to lose weight. If you lost any more weight, you'd be a fucking skeleton. But like, it's same thing with him. Like, dude, there's such a thing as good fat, and
Oh,
you need it to function.
if you
Anyway,
ever want to look up pictures of a strange looking dude, Dorian Yates. I shouldn't say strange because I mean he worked very hard on that body.
but it could be still strange. Just because you put work into it doesn't mean it's not as strange looking. It's like that dude he did all the surgery and make himself look like a cat. It's like
Huh.
just because he did all that work to make himself look like a cat doesn't mean he still didn't look like a fucking freak. And I told myself I wouldn't cuss as much, but well, I guess I'm doing okay a little bit, but still, I'm not doing great.
The news that came out just today, apparently, Aerosmith was doing their farewell tour, and Steven Tyler blew out his voice, so they're ending their tour early.
Yeah,
Yay! Ha! You're like, fuck Aerosmith.
it's funny. Like, I don't necessarily hate them for any reason. Just my biggest animosity towards them is because of the Armageddon soundtrack. And I was working at a movie theater at the time, and so when I think Aerosmith, I always think, I think of like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
that song was annoying because it was everywhere, nonstop.
And then there was that Aerosmith video game that I saw, but I mean that's not. I think of that too, but my first thing I think of is me being stuck in the lobby of a movie theater, listening to this song for 1,000th time that day.
Yeah, oh god. Yep. Once a song gets overplayed, it's just like poison to my mind.
I mean, just like I have a similar thing with Spider-Man 3. I can't really watch it first of all because it's a god awful movie and I hated it. But like when I was working at GameStop, and they had the PS3 out. The movie they used to demonstrate Blu-rays was Spider-Man 3, and they played the Spider-Man 3 trailer every 5 minutes for my entire shift. And my God, it's like I hate Spider-Man 3. And again, I hate Spider-Man 3 anyway. It's a terrible movie. It makes me angry when I watch it. But now it's like that I get stuck to watch the trailer over and over again. No bueno.
Yeah, that's against the Geneva Convention, I believe.
I have I've only walked out of a few movies, but a lot of them still stick through. I didn't walk out of that one for the main reason. I had gone to the midnight launch of that movie, and I was stuck smack in the middle of the row. And I drugged Jenny out to see this thing, so I was like, not only am I have to get up and get out of here, like trying to navigate through all these people's legs, and have to drag Jenny behind me who didn't want to come in the first place. So then I'll have to deal with like I told you so. I guess I'll watch fucking goth Peter Parker do dance moves, I guess.
Yeah, I never actually watched the third one, I think. Much like X-Men, I watched the first two Spider-Man, then the third one came out, I was just like, huh.
You should, but okay, I say all that. Actually, you should watch it. We should watch it together. We should watch like we should get inebriated and watch it and like make fun of it because it's not so bad. It's not so bad it's unenjoyable. I'll tell you that. A lot of my anger from that comes from what they do with the characters, and I have particular love for some of his characters, particularly Venom. But it's also so it's bad from that point of view. It's also bad from a writing and acting and how it's shot. So it's it's also like that. But again, it's not so bad you can't enjoy it. It's if you go in there knowing, oh, okay, we're in for a bad movie, let's enjoy ourselves. It's great.
Gotcha. Yeah, you can enjoy the eye rolling moments. It's not like you're clapping yourself for being like Citizen Kane. I'm gonna go see.
God. Like, I have a character. Okay, this character is bad in the beginning. Oh, look, now he lost his memory. Oh, midway through the movie, for no particular reason, he's starting to gain his memory back, and he's evil again. Oh, now he's good. I'm like, God, if the
Uh,
whole movie was just about this guy, even that would be a lot. But this is like a side character. We don't need all this stuff for a side character. Oh, hey, look, this is one of the most beloved villains of all Spider-Man. Let's introduce him on the sly, then let him fall off the screen for a long time. While we focus on another villain no one gives a shit about except for the director.
huh.
And then, and
You can
then,
tell you can tell the only reason he's there is because the director liked him as a kid. Be like,
oh
that's
my
my
god!
villain. I'm
Well,
gonna
that
make
was the
him into
thing.
this movie.
He openly said he didn't want Venom in the movie. He's like, I did not want Venom. I wanted Sandman and I wanted Green Goblin. And that he really just wanted Sand. No, he wanted Sandman and the Vulture, but they made him drop the Vulture. So they kept Sandman, and then the Green Goblin's in there for whatever reason. And then Marvel forced him to get Venom. So they totally did him dirty, barely paid attention to it. He was, like I said, a side story at best. And like one of the things about Venom is he's a big hulking figure, and Venom in this one's like basically he's the same size as Spider-Man, and
Which is
so
totally against the origins of
which
Venom.
which again is part of. But yes, even if you want to forgive the fact he doesn't look like he does in the comics, I can live with that. That's fine, because the idea of having a dark version of Spider-Man looking the same way except he's black, that's another interesting thing. That's not Venom, but that's an
Venom
interesting way.
basically originally was, hey, Spider-Man is what happens when a cowardly nerd gets superpowers. What happens when the school bully gets the same superpowers?
Yeah,
Is essentially what
exactly.
Venom was. Yeah, it's like, well, we're gonna flip
Exactly.
it on his head. Now the big bad bully who picked on everybody has superpowers. How is he gonna react? Pretty much how you'd expect. And
But
now
in
Venom's kind of like a good guy in some origins, so
which is fun. I mean, again, he's like the dark
he's kind of like
protector
a
or
gray
whatever.
area now. It's like I'm a
Yeah.
bad guy, except for when somebody worse comes by, like Carnage.
And
Rrr.
I can live with that. That's fine. I can live with
Yeah,
that.
I'm actually
You
okay
know,
with that.
but
I
this
don't really have a problem with it.
this dude, but this guy, this Eddie Brock was the dude from the '70s show.
Yeah,
So Eric Foreman's running around as the evil. It just
man, Red
I like
Foreman
it.
with the Venom powers would have been pretty fucking awesome. That
That would
character
actually,
and everything.
well, especially if he was that, especially the character Red Foreman in the same kind of vein of a villain as he was in RoboCop. That'd have been
Oh
rad.
God, he was. That's what I remember Red Foreman for, was that awesome a performance in RoboCop.
Oh man, he was
He
so good
was
in
such
RoboCop.
a good bad guy in that movie.
I mean, to the point where even when I see Red Foreman, I still don't see him as Red Foreman. I still see him as a bad guy from RoboCop.
Yes, I do too. Yeah, I kind of like thinking of Red Foreman as being like the bad guy from RoboCop who like disappeared from the crime world and settled down in Wisconsin and be like, nobody knows my
Yeah.
past.
He's like, I'll break my foot off in your ass. Like, no, seriously, I will kill you, then plant my foot
Right.
in there.
I
I
have
have
killed more
shoes.
people than you have met in your life. Oh, by the way, to go back real quick, life insurance now expires at 121 years old, it looks like.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they basically just took that table you were talking about and just slid everything up like a few years.
that makes more sense. I mean,
Yep.
because that table I was talking about, that was what, 1998 maybe?
Yeah.
99. Yeah, that it's been a minute since.
Yep. Yeah, 2004, they're like, oh, there's going to be a lot of 100-year-olds coming up. Let's slide everything up to 121. And also go back to something we were just talking about. The Treehouse of Horror this year is going to have a episode where one of the little skits is going to be Homer basically turns into Venom, but it's because of his denim jeans that he loves so much, and it's going to be called Denim.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that should be good. They even have a poster up that's kind of cool looking of it.
Yeah, I
It's
still need
like
to see a second Venom.
they made a second Venom.
Yeah.
I never even
You-
saw the first one.
Oh, you see,
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
the first one's actually pretty good. Like, it's not great. A lot of people really griped about it because it's like, oh, it's too formulaic, blah blah blah, whatever. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The second one that I've heard is really bad, but I still want to see it.
When did that come out? Recently?
Let's see. They're actually coming out with a third Venom. So there's a 2021 was Let There Be Carnage, and
Uh,
which they introduced Carnage. And then Venom, another one's coming out called Venom: The Last Dance. That's coming out this year.
Venom: The Last Dance. I swear to God, if they have Last Dance with Mary Jane as part of their ad thing, I'm just gonna.
Well, and you know what stopped? One of the
Uh.
big things that stopped me from watching the second Venom movie is I watched the oh man, pitch meeting about it. I'm like, it sounds so bad.
Pitch meeting is amazing. In fact, that's pretty much where I get a lot of my movie knowledge from nowadays. It's like I don't want to watch this movie. I'll watch the pitch meeting and get the cliff notes of it.
That's actually how I started watching the Star Wars Acolyte, and
Oh,
I'm watching it about halfway through, and I'm like, I'm not into this, you know. And that's the thing. Like when I say I'm not into this, I always have to preface like, look, I understand there's a lot of people out there like, ew, lesbians. I don't give a shit about that. You know, I don't care
the
about.
most you had the best things to say about that show from anybody I've known that watched it, and even you didn't sound that. The way you phrased it was like, "I'm enjoying it. I'm just waiting for something to happen," which that's
Yeah,
like the most glowing thing I've heard of anybody say of that series, and that's not a good thing, Nate.
and I mean, when
Because I've heard
the
a lot of things too is you just don't care. They gave you no reason to care about any of the main characters in that. They're just all, it's like,
right,
oh, they died, whatever. Oh, that person's
yeah, they all
obviously the
get
bad
killed.
guy.
They all end up getting killed, and finally, I'm like, I hate it when they're like, "Oh, look, here's this character who doesn't have all their powers." Like that's so just give them the powers. You know, why are you dumbing them down?
And then
And
did they
and I
bring out a spoilers alert? Didn't they bring out a Jedi Wookiee and just kill it immediately too?
immediately, like there was no, I was expecting some kind of battle, and they go and she's like, "Oh, you have to kill this Jedi Master without a weapon," which again, why? I never got an explanation why it has to be without a weapon, but.
Just to make it cool, and that way when they make the video game adaptation, it'll be a cool mission in the video game.
And I
Maybe.
will say maybe they explain it later on, like in the episodes I didn't watch because I did stop watching it. I watched pitch meeting and just got the gist of it. And I don't know. I'm a big Star Wars
Her
fan.
stone house burns down. Her stone house burns down.
I'm right. I
Yes, that happened
mean,
in the show apparently. Ah, uh,
I am a big Star Wars fan. I'm totally fine with women having being main actors. I have no
yeah.
problem with that. I just want them to be good. And I don't
Yeah,
I
if
want
anybody described Acolyte by using the term woke, I usually disregard what they say pretty
yeah.
quick about it.
I want if they're supposed to be identical twins, then I want them to be identical twins for both the child version and the adult version. Don't give me one actor playing two parts of identical twins and then flash back to their childhood and they have two different people playing. Yeah, they look similar, I guess, but they're very clearly not identical twins. So why? I don't know. That
Child
really
labor
pulled me in.
laws. We can't have identical twins on set for too long.
Oh my
I
god.
don't know.
Well, yeah.
There actually is some weird things with child labor laws that prevent
No,
some
I'm
stuff
sure
like
there
that,
is,
which is
but if
weird.
they can make,
Probably not in that
yeah,
situation.
I mean, that's the whole premise behind like, was it Parent Trap? Like, sorry, we can't shoot Parent Trap now.
Huh.
'Cause God forbid we have the same kid like play both roles.
Uh, Back in the 60s when they do that, they just give the kid some coke or meth and be like, ah, work a 16-hour shift, kid. Ah.
All right, quick pause. I need to blow my nose. I'm starting to affect my voice.
Okie dokie.
Off my lap. Oh, yep. Okay. So I can't hold it anymore. I can't breathe.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
All right.
You want to learn something new? Apparently, July 31st is National Orgasm Day, which is an offshoot of Female Orgasm Day, which is August 8th.
Well then.
There's an International Female Orgasm Day and a National Orgasm Day. There you go. Anyways,
You're welcome.
yep. Just things you learn when you're surfing the internet. Things you learn.
Yeah, one thing about my surfing is I need to start like expanding out because like my Google keeps on going, oh, here's these articles. I'm like, I know I'm a nerd, but I don't want all like I would like some news outside of just Star Wars and like casting and every
When the
so often.
algorithm decides you like something, it thinks you really like
I
something. And that's all
know,
you
and
want.
they'll be like, I actually kind of had to start going, don't stop showing these to me because they're like, oh, look at this cosplay of this character you like. I'm like, I don't care.
Yes.
You know, I don't need to see that. Like, unless you're actually showing me what someone might be looking like in an upcoming anything, then sure. But
Always hate the headlines you get nowadays too, where it's like experts are freaking out about this, or people are having an uproar over this, and it's literally just a link to like a Twitter feed of like three people arguing. And you're like,
yeah,
this is the news story.
yeah, it's really hard to tell nowadays when an uproar is actually happening versus just someone being a Karen.
Yep, and trying
Or
to spread it out more.
my favorite is like this person destroys this other person on this clip. I'm like, okay, let me watch this clip.
Ah,
It's
yes.
watch the clip and what I want to see is the person who's on my side says something so devastating. The person who's not on my side goes, "Oh my god, you blew me away," or like they have an embarrassed moment, like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm come back for something," or like they say something so powerful that like the other person kills himself on screen. Just like they can't think of something to say. Everyone's looking at them. They feel stupid. They reach into their pocket. They pull out a revolver and they blow their fucking brains out. Like that is being destroyed on screen. where you're like
Yeah.
you can't imagine taking another breath because you are so like humiliated by the power of whatever the other person said or did.
Politics would be far more interesting if you had to off
That
yourself if you lost a debate that
absolutely
bad.
would. They're like there's like a gauge, like you could lose a debate and your life isn't at risk. But if they catch you repeatedly in a lie, there's like a ongoing like live lie detector there, and they like literally box you up, like cornering you to be like, I'm
And
sorry,
it's the
Mister.
person your debating gets who actually gets to put you
Yeah,
down, maybe. So
I'm
all of a
sorry,
sudden, next thing you know, it's like Trump out back with Biden after that one debate, be like,
Mr. Smith.
tell me about the rabbits,
Yeah,
Joe. I'm gonna pet
unfortunately,
the
like
bunnies.
you've had this is your 10th lie in a row that you've been caught on. Because it's not that you can't lie, you can't be caught in a lie. So this is
Yeah.
you got caught in this is your 10th lie in a row you've been caught with. You don't really seem to know how to dig yourself out of this. Unfortunately, you're now on old Yeller status, and we are gonna have to take you outside and shoot you in the fucking head. and usually your opponent can choose whether they want to pull the trigger or not, and I'm being told this that your opponent really wants to pull the trigger like
Yeah.
real bad, like to the point where you're
Keep
actually a little concerned that this is
yeah.
actually her way of murdering you.
And also, you should be concerned because this person has Parkinson's and they might not have a steady shot. So it might take them a few goes. Just letting you know. So, an interesting world of news. Did you hear about that giant spy prisoner swap between Russia and a bunch of countries and this and that?
Was it spies? I mean, I know there's a prisoner swap.
Yeah, some of them were spies, some of them were this and that. Anyways, the one that I'm actually referencing to, there's an Argentina couple in Slovenia. They were convicted of spying, and they're part of this giant exchange. Well, apparently, it came out that the spies' kids had no idea they were Russian or anything like that. Just randomly, like, "Hey, we're going to Russia." They're like, "Why? You're Russian," and the kids are like, "What?"
Oh,
They were
that
so
would
deep into spy.
suck.
Yeah, they thought they were just like Argentinian or whatever. They were just like, "Hey, we're Argentinian kids." Blah 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 blah. We come from Argentina, and all of a sudden their whole world just got changed. It was like, "Oh no, your parents were spies. We're going to Russia. You can go meet with Putin."
Oh, that would so suck. I mean, hell,
Yeah,
wasn't that, no, no, it was. I was like, wasn't it the premise of that Scarlet
Scarlet Letter.
Black Widow? No, Black Widow.
I don't know.
But then I remembered to actually like shoot they were in on it. But yeah, like that would suck so bad. Hey, surprise! You
Yep.
know that country that you love? We're not part of that country.
I thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, that would be a total kick in the nuts. I think it says how old the kids are, but they look like they're like 12, 13 maybe. So
I wouldn't.
yeah. So apparently, like 8 Russian spies were sent to Russia in exchange for 16 people who were held in Russian detention, including like former Marines and Wall Street Journal reporters.
I mean, I know that like they were pretty stoked to get that taken care of. And
Yeah.
Trump was all like, "I could have done that," and they're like, "I know, say what you will about Biden, but he did have a good zinger." He's like, "Well, then why didn't you?"
Ha.
Like
Right. I meet people in person who do that. It's like, I could have done that. It's like, well, why didn't you? They're like, well, you remember. It is a good way to like completely like disarm them. But yeah, I guess the 2 Russian spies were they were living undercover in Slovenia, posing as IT businessmen, and then they got caught I don't know, doing spy stuff and sent to prison for a year and a half. Kids were disappointed, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, kids, you're going to Russia." You know.
what? I've never.
Oh yeah, and they don't speak Russian either, just so you know. They speak Spanish.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's
so there, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Apparently, Putin said "Buenos noches" to him as the first thing he said to him, and gave him a hug. He probably then later shoved them out of a 12-story building
right.
full of
You're
bullets.
like, I'm
They
sorry, but
fell
your
to their
parents
death full of
failed.
bullets somehow.
Well, if you did like, okay, no, go off. Don't worry, we got you a nice apartment. Where? Don't worry about it. We got you a nice apartment.
Do you want your really bizarre story coming out of Vietnam?
Of course.
All right. So apparently, an Indian national man was visiting Vietnam, and he decided that. I mean, did you ever get the urge to want to just have something giant and squirming up your butt? Of course you have, Nathan. Just like this man did. So apparently, he took a 2 foot long live eel, jammed it up his butt, and then plugged it in with a lime for sexual pleasure. But then the eel apparently ate its way through his intestines and into his chest cavity, where surgeons had to remove it from his body, along with the lime that was plugging him up. I will send you a link to the article right now because it's don't know what to make about it. There's pictures of the leech too, or the eel, and various other things. So, oh. Yeah, they attempted to remove the eel through the man's anus without cutting him open, but it turns out,
Good
yeah, the
lord.
lime was in the way. But yep, the eel had bitten through the patient's rectum and colon to escape into the abdominal cavity.
That's like some alien looking stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like a giant tapeworm almost kind of thing, but
Jesus, that would be awful.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
imagine, and imagine like he doesn't like if he was in America, probably wouldn't have the funds to get that surgery. He's like, well,
Right. Well, I
I
guess
guess,
I die.
yeah, I guess I'm gonna die here a little bit.
And then you're just on the bus next to a dude who's just like not looking well, and this eel just eats its way out of his stomach. Dude, you'd have to go to therapy for years to get that out of your mind.
Oh my god, that'd be so awful.
I guess back in March, a 12-inch eel slid up a 43-year-old man's anus, and he had to be rushed to the hospital. So I guess don't swim naked in Vietnam, because eels will slide up your anus. The doctors
I'm
say,
just staring at it, going, oh my
yeah,
god.
I know, I know exactly what you're doing, because you're doing the same thing I did when I came across. I'm like, oh, they even have a picture of the or the eel stretched out next to the lime. And as the doctors say, eels can survive in anaerobic conditions for a long time and have the ability to bite through the gastrointestinal tract, they warned. Therefore, people should never insert live animals through the anus to seek intense sensations due to the unforeseeable consequences. Uh, yeah. And you gotta wonder about the poor eel, man. You're just like swimming around in a pond doing eel stuff, and some giant hairless ape just grabs you and just starts feeding you up its anus. I mean, come on. It's not cool. It kind of also reminds me of Mr. Slave from South Park
I
with
was actually
Lemmy
thinking about
Winks.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Of course, Living Wings never became a giant fucking like hentai tentacle.
Yeah, it does look like some sort of weird hentai tentacle. Uh, yep, 4 inches in diameter too. It's a decent sized eel. So I'll let you stare at that and process for a moment.
Oh, actually, I was going to bring up something that I just thought of. So when we were at, I was mentioned earlier, we were in class like never mention politics, religion, or sports. And the next day, this guy I was there with, I don't know, I couldn't get a beat on this guy, man, because one day he was saying how he went to a pride parade. The next day, he's talking about how he like loves shooting his guns and like shot a boar in the head. I'm like, okay, I'm having trouble reconciling. Anyway, the he busts out the middle of class like, "Oh, I'm so mad," and I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" He's like, "Apparently there was a. Have you heard about this boxing controversy? The female boxing controversy?"
Yeah.
So he was at the time. He's like, "This woman just got hit, and she like went down like crazy, and apparently it was a transgender man." And so he's like, "I'm so mad about that." And like, and the whole class shut up because no one wanted to talk about that. And then like, I don't want to talk about that either because it's complicated. First of all, there's very few. That's the thing. Statistically there's almost no trans people out there. There's like 1% or whatever. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to this because my daughter and I actually talk about this because it's something that it's on her mind. She's an athlete, and she actually has several trans friends. None of them are on in terms of like the sports part. There's no she doesn't have anybody on her team. She doesn't know anybody who's doing that. But like it's sticky. I have no answer for it because I'm a very I won't say closeted. I'm open. I'm open if people ask, but I'm not getting on a footstool saying, "Hey, everyone, I'm a progressive Democrat atheist." Like that's especially around here. If people, it's one of those things like people find out you're gay, they treat you differently. They find you're atheist, they treat you almost worse. And sometimes, you know what I mean? Particularly like in the Bible Belt, which is where I am. I don't know what to say. Like I don't want to go too far into it because it's so fucking sticky. But come to find out, like it wasn't even a man. Like she was a regular ass woman who
Transgender,
just
nothing. Yep.
yeah, she was born a woman. She like had elevated testosterone. It's like, well, the females make testosterone,
Yeah.
and you're gonna really tell me that you're a boxer to the point where you can get to the Olympics, you never touch testosterone.
So that
It's
country that she comes from, it's illegal to be trans. They like put them to death or something like that.
oh, I'm sure there's a lot of countries out there, even Russia's like that, I think. And
Also,
so
a fun thing too, if people really want to argue it, from what I have gathered, I mean, she was born with a uterus and she can give birth to a kid, and that's like every right wing dude's things like, well, if you can't give
yeah,
birth to a kid, you're not a woman. And then if they argue that, then be like, so is there more than two genders?
and she gave him like 46 seconds, and I'm looking at this picture like she just got full punch dead in the face. That's on you. You let
Yeah.
yourself get you allowed as a professional Olympic boxer got in the ring with someone who's way taller than you, and you got punched dead in the face. That sounds like a you problem. Like you went in there knowing full well who you're facing, full well where you were, and you got rocked. And then you're gonna turn around
She
and try to
boxed
accuse
last
them
year
of
too, I think, or last Olympics even.
and she apologized. She has now since like, oh my bad, she's not really trans. I apologize. But it's like
Yeah.
if you're getting your ass kicked, the first you should immediately jump. Like when my daughter runs for cross country and she comes in not great, she doesn't look around and go, every girl who beat me are all men.
People are saying too, apparently it's going back to just a giant, big old Russian misinformation campaign to piss off Americans. It's
Yeah,
working around here. Literally, everybody in this town and Facebook is fighting over it.
and of course it's like I'm sure. Oh yeah, I'm sure around there. And it's like you'd think it'd back off once you realize, oh wait, no, it's not. But it's just
Nope, they just
they.
double down and then they find something else. Be like, well, here's another example of something I don't like. What about that? And
Yeah,
they're just like, good job
and
moving
then,
the goalpost.
yeah. Look over there. I'm not. I'm losing this. Look over there.
Yeah. Or they'll come up with like some weird article from some news source that's, like an Eastern Russia outlet. And they'll be like,
Yeah.
look, obviously this is true.
This is true because it matches my thinking, my assumptions. This matches it, so it's true.
Yeah. People do like to have confirmation bias thrust upon them.
And I mean, I'm not alone in that. There's, or I'm not the only one who's like, let me start over. Ugh. Many people follow confirmation bias. I also am one of those people. I've definitely looked at things and saw something that matched my perception of the world, and I immediately grabbed it and said, "Look at this! This is the perfect example of what I believe in." And then
It's
I actually took
exactly
it.
what I think. And then,
Yes,
yeah.
like this is exactly what I think. This is why everything is wrong with the world. If everyone would just look at this example, see, look at it. Look, oh, don't look at this example.
Yes,
This is a bad example.
Yep.
I did look closely enough. Ignore everything I said just a minute ago.
I have learned, especially recently with news stories, before you jump on a bandwagon, it's usually good to wait like 2 or 3 days for the other side of the story to come out. Even if you
Yeah.
agree with the side that came out first, still always good to wait a couple of days. It turns out. To be like,
I have eaten crow enough to know that like I start going through like Googling. Like if I see something and I'm like, oh, awesome, this. Let's look around. I'll actually go to like Fox News at times like that. Go, okay. MSN
Yeah.
says this. I like MSN because they lean more. They're I don't think there's leftist people accusing them of being, because there are definitely things that I don't agree with what they say. But like, we can go ahead and say MSN versus Fox, they're not on the same spectrum.
Nah.
But I still go to Fox because I'm like, okay, if MSN is saying this, obviously Fox isn't going to share their same political leaning, and whatever they say is probably, if I take the two and mesh them together, at least
Yep.
I'm getting somewhat what really happened. And, I mean, I will say, I do trust the MSN facts more than Fox facts, but I'm
when you
not
kind
so
of learn
blind.
to look for inflammatory language inside of an article, that can kind of tell you that they're setting
Yeah.
you up for something. Because some articles
Yeah.
are nothing but just like inflammatory rhetoric. It's not even news. It's just, repeatedly just saying hate-filled stuff, sort of thing.
I do try to lean towards the AP because AP does tend to be a little more like in the middle of the road. Although they did really crack me up when the AP released. The last article I saw from AP was like, no, JD Vance did not have sex with the couch. And I'm like, wait, were people saying that JD Vance slept with the couch? Like that, like, I don't know, like that denial seems pretty out of nowhere.
From what I heard, from what I saw, I guess he wrote a book a long time ago and made a joke about having sex with a rubber glove in between couch cushions. Yeah, and people are just like, must be true, but I think it is more of a joke than anything.
Well,
Also, it could have been one of those, it's only a joke if people don't, or if only people laugh.
At this point, it doesn't even fucking matter. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, someone said something, whether it's true or not, and everyone heard it. It doesn't matter that you didn't fuck a goat. Everyone heard you fuck a goat. And now, like, you can't prove you've never fucked a goat. You can't prove it. No, so what are you gonna do? No one can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that JD Vance never fucked that couch. So until his dying day, or beyond, when he's dead, someone's gonna come by with a Sharpie and write on his tombstone, this
couch fucker.
Couch fucker. That's better than what I was gonna wrote. Couch fucker is shorter and concise and to the point. Thank you, Sean. I'll make sure when I visit his grave later on, I'm gonna write couch fucker.
Keep it short and sweet. Don't write like this big long thing. Just be like, couch fucker.
And I'm gonna notate Sean Brain to where I got it from. I was gonna say something a lot. I'm gonna write this whole thing on there. I was gonna say something a lot longer.
Here lies a man who one day found the term love seat to be very literal. Nope, just short it down, couch fucker.
Okay, like that much better.
Here lies couch fucker Vance.
He's never getting out of that. Just like even not to this day. Oh man, I see. I was just about to say something. I'm blanking on his name. What was his name? He ran for president. He was Republican. They changed his name to like a dirty meaning.
Oh, Santorum?
Thank you. See, that's all I
Yeah.
needed. Even to this day, when I hear Santorum, I'm like, I know what your name means. It didn't mean like it didn't mean that when you first came out and run for office, but it means
Nope.
that now.
Yep. We can thank Dan Savage for that one, I guess, the radio personality.
Oh, really? That's a bit
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
You gotta love when people like make changes to the zeitgeist.
Oh, here's kind of a weird. I'll bring this up because it really reminds me of like Spy versus Spy. Remember that old Mad Magazine thing?
Love it.
Yep. So Miami real estate titan who decided it'd be easier just to murder his wife than to get divorced. Literally has spent the last 5 years trying to murder her constantly and failing. But since there's no evidence, he couldn't really do anything. And finally, he just died of old age. So she gets everything. See, here it is. Sergio Pino. He was they started investigating in July of 2022 for multiple contracts to kill his wife, dating all the way back to 2019 and continuing through his death. Apparently, he just kept hiring hitmen over and over again, and somehow she would not get dead. Oh, he also would tamper with her prescription and stuff and taint her opioids and this and that.
You want to change? Actually, quick timeout.
Yep.
Time. Click. Click. How much longer do you think we're going? Jenny's asking.
Oh, we can be done now if you want.
Well, I would do one more at least.
Okay. Game Informer is being shut down by GameStop.
Well, I was going to bring it. No, go ahead and talk about that. Then I have one to talk about on.
Okay. No, go ahead and do your story.
Okay. So I was just kind of like, I had my page open and I saw something and I was like, oh my, what is this? And I clicked on it and I'm like, okay, are you ready?
Yes.
This affects everybody. This is non-political. This affects everybody. And I quote, this is from Fortune, the magazine. Tech CEO says people will enjoy paying a monthly fee to use a mouse. Quote, you're really going to love that, unquote. Let that sink in. Paying a monthly fee to use a mouse.
A computer mouse?
Yeah. Well, the idea is it's Logitech, and they're saying like they want to make a quote forever mouse. So when you never have to replace, but you pay for every month, and you could only use it like there's gonna be certain clicks and movements you can use for a monthly fee.
So it's kind of like some stupid AI-driven mouse that gives you like weird mouse shortcuts or something.
I guess the idea is, from what I'm seeing on here, the idea is off the HP subscription service for a printer, which I have, by the way, and it's awesome.
Oh, really? Explain that real quick because I don't know about that.
Okay,
is it
so
like
basically
an ink service that just sends you more ink when you need
exactly,
it?
It's exactly what it is. So what they're doing is the idea is you're paying a subscription for. I pay a subscription for 100 pages a month. So they're allowing me to print 100 a colored full color black and whatever inks for a month, 100 pages for $7. So for $7, I'm paying for 100 colored pages. Now, with that, they basically just send you giant ink cartridges for my HP. It checks in, so whenever my ink starts getting low, they send me another box of ink. Now, if you actually take that and do the math for how fucking expensive ink is nowadays, it's a bargain. I mean, like, legitimately.
It's even black and white stuff. I remember back when I used to have like an inkjet printer back in the early 2000s, that thing was so expensive to keep fed.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Even just printing black and white stuff, it was like, 30, 40 cents a page kind of stupid shit. Especially when your ink cartridge crapped out halfway through and didn't use all the way.
Oh my God. Like, because we were using another printer and we would go to Walmart and I would buy the cheap version. So they had a bigger version and a cheaper version. Even the cheaper version was like $25 for the ink, for colored ink, and $25 for the black. So it's $50 just to get the lower end, the cheaper, like you'll run out faster version. I'm like, this is $7, and it's actually happened already multiple times where my girls are like, "Oh, the ink's running out." I'm like, "Oh, look at that! I have a box right here. Like I didn't even realize it came in, and I just boop, and there you go. Like I right now I actually have a box sitting right next to me that came in the other day, and I didn't realize it because they don't wait till you're out; they wait till you're low. And so, like, I'm not even out yet, but I already have my inks ready. So I really do like the HP subscription service for ink. So if I want to be a shill for that, if you print, that's the thing. If you actually print, if you don't, then yeah, don't do it. But if you do print stuff, like I kind of fell off the wagon. I'm trying to get things up and running again. But when I was printing my stickers often, yeah, I mean, it was great. And my kids use it for school. My wife uses it for her stuff. And even like, yeah, it really is nice to have ink ready to go. I don't know how that would transfer to a mouse because it's one
Read the article
thing.
here, and they're just like subscription mouse, but they're not really talking about how it's a subscription thingy. I mean,
Yeah, and it's like what it. Plus, I mean, I don't. Who goes through mouses? Who goes through them that fast? It's not like people have an issue of ink running out. People don't have issues of their mice running out. Yeah, it happens because it's technology and things break. But it's not to the point where I need to buy a mouse every so often.
like my last mouse going for about 6 years now, I think, and I think the mouse I had before that probably lasted 15. So yeah,
I mean, the most recent mouse I got is the one you graciously sent me, where it's like it's not, you can't hear while I'm clicking on it. But
yeah.
I have several other mice. Like I actually let my kids not borrow, have, because we just bought them like laptops, so they needed mice. But they were all like $20, and they still work. I bought them years ago, so
Oh, well, if you do this subscription thing, it'll pay for mouse updates. It's like I can't remember the last time my mouse got updated or needed one.
like
The only time
mouse
I can think of
updates.
like, yeah, the only time I can think of that is like people who have those like $200 gaming mice that have, like 3,000 buttons on them and stuff. Because some of those you can like download like new macros you can set up on them and stuff. And, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, like I know
but
the MMO ones like Warcraft, they had, oh, we do this, but like just get used. I mean, that would seem like it would be an unnecessary thing. Where if I'm sure you're used to hotkeys on your keyboard, now you gotta retrain yourself to use hotkeys on your mouse.
yeah, some of those mice have so many buttons on them nowadays. Good Lord. I remember, I think I saw one that had like 16 buttons on it total. Like eight
Oh
of them were
Jesus,
like where your thumb kind of goes.
I couldn't use that. I mean,
No,
obviously I
it's for gaming. It's not for normal
yeah,
people like
that would
us.
be yeah. I mean, I do think that one button, like the old Apple mouse, which is like it's one giant button. That's too few mouse. That's not enough. Need more. Like I need the rollerball. So the rollerball, I need that.
Or an
And I need
Apple had its one button mouse. That was
yeah.
stupid.
I need the rollerball and the right and left click. After that, I'm good. Yeah, anything more than that, you're just making it complicated.
Yeah. I will say I did have a thumb button on one of my mouses that way back when that was really cool because you could just use that as like a back button real easy for like surfing. Just click that and go back a page. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out about this whole forever mouse thing, but all I'm seeing is that like the head of Logitech brought it up, be like, we're gonna have a subscription based mouse, and people are just like, what does that mean? We don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Which
reading this more. It's like it looks like they really grabbed onto some CEO just going. They're sitting back in the chair, the boardroom table. Someone goes, I don't know. Like, what if we made a subscription for a mouse, and then someone in the
it
room
literally
like,
sounds like somebody asked me like, what could you do subscription models for? Oh, everything from a software to a mouse, and they're just like, oh, they're doing a mouse thing. It's like,
yeah, like everyone quick to keyboards, click 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 click. He said this or she said this. Like, oh, okay. Oh no, what?
So let's see. Faber mentioned that she had recently been shown an example of a forever mouse. The idea, she said, was that you would buy a well made mouse with great software and services that you would constantly update and never throw away. Yeah, that just sounds like board meeting babbling.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't mean they're going to try it because, I mean, was it Mercedes or BMW made it so you have to pay to enable your seat heaters? uh, yeah, you got to pay like $15 a month if you want your seat heaters turned on in certain cars.
oh wow, that's dumb.
Yeah, and the dumb thing is that your car literally comes with the seat heaters in it. It's a software thing that they just got to click over, so it's not like they're saving money somehow.
I mean, that's just like remember the uproar of the DLC? What? Oh man, I can't remember what game it was, but like they charged for the DLC that was in the disc already. Like it was in the release disc, but then
Yeah,
they were charging. But what game was that?
remember
It was a huge fucking deal too. Like people were really mad. Was it the Star Wars Battlefront?
maybe?
I mean, it was a while ago. I don't know. It was so long ago. I don't want to sit here and like waste a bunch of time trying to
Huh?
find it.
Yeah.
It was the Batman. It was Arkham, Return to Arkham. They had a bunch of special suits, and there was a DLC on there. I think.
A minute. HP still has the that printer subscription. According to this article I'm reading on the mouse, they're like, what really baffles me, however, is that we've already gone down this road. HP tried out a subscription printer, then gave up on the idea after consumers revolted. Huh? Consumers revolted, Nate. They probably threw printers off the the Boston Tea Party off of boats. Anyways,
Oh, okay. I found the article. It was a Street Fighter X Tekken. It was a Street Fighter game,
oh, oh,
and you
like
know,
all the characters that they were going to try to make you unlock later
yeah,
on
and
were already
you know how
there.
people are. You know how
Yeah,
like gamers. It was happened in 2012, so I think it's it. Like gamers are already contentious and shitty, but Street Fighter, Street Fighter people. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have too much of a feeling towards Tekken, but just based on my my experience with Street Fighter players specifically, they can be real shitty.
Yeah, they can.
They're
Well,
like
I
they're
feel like almost any game that has like a professional circuit about them tends to like get some of the shittier players because there's like, I can make money off this,
yeah.
while being a dick.
Yep.
Yeah, which I had real quick. Oh yeah. So Maryland retiree won the lottery ticket, matching all 5 numbers, and they bought the same ticket with the same numbers 25 times and won 25 separate times.
Why would you
So
do that?
I
I mean,
I
yeah,
don't
it worked
know.
out.
The
If
way they're making this sound like is like if you get all the numbers right, you get like an extra bonus on top of it. So if you like, so she was trying to like get the extra like $10,000 bonus per ticket sort of thing, but I don't know.
it makes
Yeah, she
sense
buys anywhere
when
between
you
20 and
win.
25 tickets at a time, but with all the same numbers on it.
It makes sense when you win, but if you don't win, it's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Over the years, she has won smaller prizes by using the same approach. The number of
My
tickets she buys for each drawing varies, often reaching 24, but this time it was 25.
we occasionally do lottery, and Jenny's actually started playing lottery on like little mini lottery games
Yeah.
on her tablet, which is whatever. You know, if it makes her happy, that's fine. It's not like she's gaming hundreds of dollars. But like my oldest daughter, she's like, the chances of you winning the lottery are like getting hit by a lightning like 3 times in a row. I'm like, okay, August, but what are the chances if you don't play the lottery at all?
I was about to say, if you don't play it at all, you don't.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm
You
like,
miss
and
100%
also,
of shots you don't take.
and also like that's for the jackpot. Like I'd be happy. Like there are other
Yeah,
tiers.
you can win $200 kind of thing out of some of those.
Yeah, I'm like, there's a couple $100,000. I'm like, I go, August, are you telling me like, oh well, we didn't get the $1 billion jackpot, so we can't use $100,000? Like, if we won $100,000, that's game changing. Like, we would be able to pay off almost all our debt because Jenny's education loan is insane. I think she still owes like 75 grand on her on school.
Because the interest is more than the minimum
Oh my
payments on some of
God.
those.
Well, we haven't even been making payments because we can't afford it. So it's just like it's not even getting paid off; it's just steadily getting bigger.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my
Can't get
school's
blood
all,
out of a stone kind of thing.
Yeah, my school's all paid off. So it's but then again, I also only have an associate. But yeah, I mean, just I play because I would love to hit jackpot, but I'm not aiming for the jackpot. I'm aiming for one of the other tiers. We could really use a few tens of thousands of dollars. That would, again, that alone would get us back into black, and we can actually start like making real moves. But until that time, it's just, it's like so. Yeah, no. If I won the jackpot, believe me, like I would be over the moon. But that's not what I'm looking for. And I would definitely not write several. Oh, I'm gonna make a bunch of tickets all the same number. I mean, the whole point is get several tickets with different numbers. That makes you. But it worked out for that lady. I say all this and like I'm shitting all over her, but at the same time, it worked.
That's jealousy, Nate.
It absolutely is because in the end, like I am going, fuck this bitch. I can't believe she did it, but it worked.
It
did. Like everything I said, I guess I can just shove it in my own ass because
just showed up there like an eel.
Yeah, exactly. I need to have that opinion removed from surgery or with surgery because it 100% it worked out.
In news that we probably better off not knowing, 2 more women have come forth about sexual abuse and assault by Neil Gaiman back in the 80s.
Man.
So that means for the last 40 years he's been sexually harassing and abusing women,
which I believe. I mean,
I believe it too. It's just a bummer because he's such a talented motherfucker and I like his work. And now it's just like, well, I like his work, but not him. You gotta like preface it with that nowadays. Like, son of a bitch.
And that's actually like that's a big question. Like, where does the art separate from the person?
I know.
And like I don't know. I just because with certain people. I don't know. I guess it depends on how I feel about them, and it's not necessarily fair. It's not necessarily standard.
Also, I don't too. It can taint the work too, because all of a sudden, if you go back and start reading Neil Gaiman's early stuff, and you're like, "Hey, this is all about an abusive man treating a woman like shit, huh?" And you're like, And they kind of your brain just associating. Like, So I don't know. Sad times on that.
Yeah,
sad times for the women. I mean, fuck Neil Gaiman because.
Right. Sad time for the women,
yeah,
but
I'm not trying to stand up for Neil Gaiman because
I mean, here I am, a white man saying this, so take with a grain, whatever salt you want to put on there, but like, still, like, I can still consider us part of the victim, because I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff he's done, and then to come to find out, oh, by the way, this person I won't go so far as idolize. I've never idolized Neil Gaiman. I do want to be an author. I would love to be like.
You
Yeah,
aspire to be as good
thank
of
you.
an
Aspire. Yes.
aspire to be as good of a writer as he is. That's
Yes.
there we go. Yes.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to get. I just couldn't find the words. I appreciate
Yep.
you finding that for me.
You're
So,
quite
like,
welcome.
I aspire to be him, but then it's like, come to find out, oh yeah, by the way, he's a total piece of shit. And it's like, oh,
Yep.
I mean, it's the first time I really felt this way is with Cosby. Yeah, I really love like his early comedy. Like it was very clean and it was relatable. Even as a kid, like it was. I felt relatable even as a kid, even though here I was a little white kid.
Yeah.
Like
Actually,
but
he did. He was a good stand-up comedian.
he
back
was
in
a
the day.
really good stand-up comedian. He made you genuinely laugh without being vulgar. Obviously, I don't have a problem being vulgar, but he was able to do it without
Yeah.
being vulgar.
And because of that non-vulgar approach is why he was like America's dad kind of
And
thing.
he was. I would think he was a pretty good. He was a pretty good role model for. And again, coming from my point of view, he was like his character. He seemed like a really clean comedian. He didn't really cuss. He didn't have a bad reputation. He had a bad
shit on
reputation,
other
not
people.
that we knew
He was
of.
just like
Did shit on people. And he played a character on TV. It was a
he was in Leonard Part 6, the greatest movie ever made.
I barely remember that movie. I did a couple of these.
Apparently, it's like one of the worst movies ever made.
Oh
so.
yeah, I do remember someone got killed because a bunch of frogs went underneath their car and like frog jumped the car into a lake. That's like neck breakingly changed the subject, but still.
Neck breakingly changed the subject.
But I'm glad you broke it up because I was rambling. Ultimately, you know the deal. He had that huge reputation. I was a fan as much as you can be without like being obsessed with him. And then come to find out he's a rapist. It's like, man.
Yeah.
And so now you can't like. Sure, you can still watch the Cosby Show, but it's kind of hard to now, knowing what you know. And it's just we are all kind of like victims. Obviously, we weren't as victims as the women he raped. I mean, I'm not going that far, but it's still like we all have this kind of a sense of loss. Particularly now with Neil Gaiman, because I did want to aspire to be.
He was like the nerd version of Bill Cosby in a way. not at all, but I mean,
right. I mean, he wrote a comic book that won like a huge award that made them stop taking comic books as submissions. I can't remember what it was. It was some sci-fi award that he won,
like the Nebula Award or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. And they changed the rules so comic books wouldn't be taken anymore. Like he is such a prolific good writer, and just really sucks to find out he's a piece of shit.
Yeah. He kind of brought forth the quote unquote adult comic books to the forefront again.
Yeah, I mean Sandman
with Vertigo and stuff. Yeah,
Sandman was great. The Sandman TV show is also great. If you haven't seen, I don't think you've seen it or not.
I do need to see that though.
It's so good. All right, I really need to wrap this up because.
Okie dokie. I think we're good. There's gonna be a new Jay and Silent Bob movie coming out. If that makes you tingles your dingle at all. Jay and Silent Bob's Store Wars, where they're running a dispensary.
Sure, I'll watch it.
They're running a weed dispensary, I should say.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah, good times. All right, so that is the news for recently. We talked about a lot of stuff, and it was fun.
It was fun.
Also, we learned don't stick eels up your butt because they will eat the way out of you.
Yeah, no,
or do it. I mean, I'm not your dad. You can do whatever you want.
If that is your thing, get full-grown dead ones.
Yeah,
no, or dying.
But then they don't. They got to be wiggling around. Otherwise, where's the pleasure?
They do. Yeah. Well, ask your vet.
Don't go to a doctor. They'll try to talk you out of it. A vet, on the other hand, they don't have morals.
Before anally sticking before sticking a eel into your anal cavity, go to your vet first and look for the best available ones. I was like, or maybe
go to the vet and have the teeth removed from that eel before you stick up your rectum.
Why were we removing the teeth of the eel? Don't worry about it.
Why do you have an eel in a jar next to your bed? I call him Gummy Joe. This is where the ending jingle goes. This is where the ending jingle goes. I don't know if we need one. I don't know if we'll get one. But if we do, then here is where it goes.